Today we commemorate the life and career of Tomás Lang in high-performance computing and his impact on the international investigation community. We would like to thank the institution that made this possible: Barcelona Supercomputing Center, Universidad Politécnica de Catalunya, Faculty of Physical and Mathematical Science, University of Chile, Center for Mathematical Modeling, CNM, and National Laboratory for High Performance Computing. To open this tribute, let us welcome Dean Francisco Martinez, who will deliver the opening remarks. Así que invitamos al decano Francisco Martínez, que nos dé unas palabras de bienvenida en esta ceremonia.
Yes. Totally. Muy buenas tardes a todas y todos. Es un gran honor poder dirigirme a ustedes para conmemorar la obra de Tomás Lang. Estimados colegas, estimados estudiantes, miembros de nuestra comunidad académica y queridos invitados internacionales que nos acompañan. Hoy nos reunimos para rendir un sentido homenaje a nuestro exalumno, profesor, colega y amigo Tomás Lang, un investigador, maestro y mentor, cuyo paso por la vida deja una huella profunda en la computación de alto rendimiento que hoy, digámoslo, transforma las bases de nuestra civilización. No tuve el privilegio de conocerlo hasta que, con motivo de este evento, en su nombre, he disfrutado conociéndole y me ha impresionado su gran obra. La historia de Tomás representa una de las trayectorias más fascinantes en el desarrollo de la computación moderna. Nacido en Checoslovaquia en el año 1938, en el umbral de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, su familia encontró refugio en Chile en 1939, a un año de su vida, donde el pequeño Tomás descubriría su vocación para la ingeniería. En la Universidad de Chile, no solo obtuvo su título de ingeniero civil electricista en 1964, sino que además dejó temprana muestra de su talento a través de su memoria, el diseño y construcción de una memoria con núcleos magnéticos y circuitos transistorizados, desarrollado junto a su colega Mario Skolnick. Además, fue profesor del Departamento de Ingeniería Eléctrica. Este trabajo inicial, que hoy nos parece histórico, representa entonces la vanguardia tecnológica utilizando los mismos principios que permitirían el desarrollo de mainframes como IBM System 360. Recordamos su paso por el Departamento de Ingeniería Eléctrica de la Universidad de Chile, que se inicia el 6 de enero de 1965 hasta el 24 de enero de 1971 según nuestros registros. Estos registros, físicamente escritos y guardados en la facultad. Luego, hasta 1973, figura en comisión de servicio, probablemente hasta ahora, está en comisión de servicio. Ya en esos años mostró esa vocación formadora que tantos frutos extraordinarios lograse durante su carrera. Su curiosidad intelectual y ambición profesional pronto lo llevarían a cruzar fronteras, obteniendo su maestría en Berkeley y su doctorado en Stanford, dos de los epicentros mundiales de la revolución computacional. La carrera académica de Lang se desarrolló no solo desde la innata curiosidad, sino también impregnada de una mirada global y visión de futuro poco común para su época. En España, durante su etapa en la Universidad Politécnica de Cataluña, entre el 78 y el 86, se le recuerda por sus clases y formación de investigadores, pero especialmente por la profunda huella que dejó al fundar el Departamento de Arquitectura de Computadoras. sembrando allí las semillas de esta disciplina en Europa. Demostró con ello, una vez más, su capacidad para construir puentes académicos basados en el conocimiento que no reconoce fronteras. Sin embargo, sería en Estados Unidos donde consolidaría su legado más perdurable. Como profesor e investigador de la Universidad de California, Irvine, Lang se convirtió en una figura central de la comunidad de la arquitectura de computadores. Sus colegas lo recuerdan no solo por su aguda inteligencia, sino por su personalidad modesta y capacidad única para la mentoría. Tomás revolucionó los fundamentos de la computación. Sus contribuciones técnicas resultaron fundamentales para el desarrollo de la computación moderna. Su trabajo en algoritmos de recurrencia de dígitos para división y raíz cuadrada, particularmente el algoritmo SRT, Shortest Remaining Time, se convirtió en el estándar de hecho para las unidades aritméticas de los microprocesadores. La ironía histórica quiso que un error en la implementación de este mismo algoritmo causara el famoso bug del Pentium en 1994. Error de coma flotante del microprocesador Intel Pentium, demostrando involuntariamente cuán esencial se había vuelto su trabajo para la industria. Para su genio creativo no se limitó a un solo campo. Lang hizo contribuciones significativas en múltiples áreas, desde la multiplicación rápida izquierda a derecha hasta el diseño de aritmética de baja latencia y bajo consumo energético, desde las mejores de algoritmos Cordic para transformaciones geométricas 3D hasta avances en multiprocesadores verticales y redes de interconexión. Cada una de estas contribuciones compartía un sello característico, la búsqueda de la elegancia matemática unida a la factibilidad de la aplicación práctica. Su legado perdura. Como autor, Lang coescribió el libro Digital Arithmetic con el Segovac, texto que se convertiría en referencia obligada para los ingenieros e investigadores de todo el mundo. Su influencia como editor jefe del HPC+AI Transaction on Computers le permitió modelar el desarrollo de todo el campo, mientras que el premio IEEE Emanuel Piore, que recibió en el 2008, coronó una vida de contribuciones excepcionales. Sin embargo, para muchos, su legado más valioso sea probablemente el lado humano. Esos estudiantes y colegas que hoy continúan su trabajo en laboratorios y universidades alrededor del mundo. En la página del IEEE International Symposium on Computer Arithmetic de mayo de este año, encontramos trazos de su retrato más personal en palabras de sus colaboradores, algunos de los aquí presentes, donde escogí las que me permitieron conocerlo más. Milos Esserwa. Según el Milo, fue un gran colega y mentor. Trabajamos juntos durante 20 años. Le inicié en la aritmética y luego me demostró su talento. Tomás conocía bien la literatura, el arte, el cine, la fotografía y la música, así que nunca me aburría estar con él. De hecho, fueron tiempos muy buenos. Este nombre es difícil de decir. Wojin Oklowska. Dice, sus contribuciones a la aritmética informática seguirán vivas, pero hemos perdido un gran ser humano. Nuestro conocido Mateo Valero dice, esta es una muy mala noticia para muchos. Personalmente, Tomás fue mi mentor y amigo. Me enseñó cómo hacer buena investigación, siendo ético y feliz al mismo tiempo. Sin él, el Departamento de Arquitectura de Computadores, que él creó aquí en Barcelona, ni siquiera habría existido. Y sin duda, gracias a él, intentamos hacer todo lo posible para que Tomás estuviera contento. Mark Tremblay. Para Mark, Tomás fue mi mentor. Su afán por alcanzar la perfección podía ser frustrante a veces, pero al final me enseñó a escribir artículos técnicos en forma lógica. Para el final dejé esta de Alberto Nanarelli, que dice: años después de visitar la UCI, no es la UCI como la entendemos en Chile. La UCI en Chile es el lugar donde llegan los enfermos más graves. Esta es la Universidad de California, Irvine. Años después de visitar la UCI y referirme a él como el profesor Lang, me dijo: llámame Tomás, te lo has ganado. Y dice Alberto: me sentí muy feliz. Como vemos, Tomás Lang demostró que la excelencia académica y la humildad personal no solo pueden coexistir, sino que se potencian mutuamente. Su vida nos recuerda que el conocimiento más profundo a menudo surge del diálogo entre culturas y disciplinas, y que las ideas más transformadoras pueden nacer tanto en una oficina de Irvine como en una cafetería de Santiago. En un mundo donde la tecnología parece cada vez más abstracta y deshumanizada, la figura de Tomás se erige como testimonio que detrás de cada avance computacional hay mentes curiosas, colaboraciones fructíferas y sobre todo una pasión compartida por entender y mejorar nuestro mundo a través de la tecnología. Por otra parte, reconozcamos también que la obra de Tomás y todos aquellos que han contribuido a la supercomputación han abierto una caja de Pandora en la civilización. En ella encontramos la ciencia de los datos con los cuestionamientos sobre la privacidad, la inteligencia artificial y los problemas éticos asociados, la concentración de la información y la capacidad de cómputo asociado a dilemas sobre nuevas formas del poder global. Todo esto ya es un cambio copernicano, pero hay muchos más. Los éxitos de la tecnología avanzada que celebramos hoy inducen una aceleración brutal en la vida humana. No sé qué le está pasando a los animales. Me refiero a que el ser humano enfrenta una velocidad creciente en todos los aspectos de su vida, que es de tal magnitud que siente que se le escapa la vida y añora un momento de paz y reflexión, una pausa, un descanso. Hoy nos cuesta entender hasta qué punto la velocidad que impone la tecnología es la causa basal de los principales conflictos de la sociedad, de los desafíos de la democracia como institución fundamental de la política, de la educación en todos los niveles, de las relaciones familiares y, cómo no, de la angustia y las enfermedades mentales. Para terminar, y volviendo a lo que nos convoca, me dirijo a Tomás, parafraseándole justamente a él mismo, para decirle: Tomás, puedes llamarte ilustre bochefiano, te lo has ganado. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos a nuestro decano por esas hermosas palabras. Y bueno, we now invite Mr. Jaime Moreno to present a consistent and powerful overview of Dr. Lang's career, highlighting his achievement and his lasting influence on high-performance computing.
So thanks again for the words. You stole some of my thunder, though, because I'm going to be mentioning some of the things that Tomas did throughout the years that you have already pointed. So we'll have to repeat some of the things that what he said. There are a number of words by which Tomas is described and mentioned by his colleagues and his friends and his students. So I pick up a few words, and you're going to be hearing these words multiple times today, because this is really how we can remember him. A person with a number of attributes, a number of characteristics, and those of us that knew him quite well really feel very, very well reflected in these words. His smile. You will hear about his smile multiple times. And you will probably also hear about his espresso coffee, because he was a very good espresso coffee drinker, and we enjoy having conversations around coffee with him. So how did he start? We already heard about his origins, how he moved to Chile, where it was his engineering degree. his thesis, and then his past time at Berkeley and at Stanford University. So this is how he started his career as a scientist. As an academic career, as pointed out, he was a professor here in University of Chile, and then he was a professor at UCLA, professor at the Polytechnic University of Catalonia. We have heard about his contribution there, creating the Department of Computer Architecture, back at UCLA, back at Barcelona, and then back in the California Irvine University. So it was pointed out by the dean how he switched between Europe and the United States, and how he set up bridges between these different academic communities. Not only he was an academic person, but he also has interaction and involvement with industry. He had a number of collaboration with various companies and so on, and he's also co-author of a couple of patents, like the one that is being shown over here. So although he was primarily and fundamentally an academic, he also had some connection to the actual practice in industry through activities such as this one. Many, many publications, a broad range, over 200 publications in journals, conferences, and what have you, a number of broad range of different publications in different topics throughout the years, and also a number of books. And I'm going to skip a little bit of this because we're going to hear more about the lasting contribution that is coming out of the books that he co-authors with Milos and others. The dean also mentioned that the arithmetic conference provided very, very touching memory of him after he died, including the comments that he read. But some of the words are here right there about what is currently in the web page associated in this conference to what he was highly respected and recognized among the computer arithmetic community because of all of the, not only of the contribution, but also of his technical, his personality in this context. Some quotes regarding people. So this, for example, comes from Harold Stone, which was his thesis advisor. And where he says that he met him as a PhD student, was impressed with him from the beginning of their work together. His thesis was in the area of processor-to-memory interconnections. This thesis launched Tomas into a career dedicated to high-speed computation. In Barcelona, this was a group led by Tomas, began to teach computer architecture and carry out research in the Barcelona School of Informatics, and a few years later, this team became the core of the computer architecture department. Now, when that department celebrated their 25th year, and Mateo probably can tell more about that, they published a little book about the history of the computer architecture department, and I stole that picture from there. So if Mateo does not get upset because I did that, but according to this, the story goes that this gentleman, Manuel Martí, who I don't know him, gave a call to Tomas and said, how do you feel like giving some talks at the faculty in Barcelona? And while you are there, just stay for a while and organize the Department of Computer Architecture for me. And allegedly, Tomas said, okay, but in one condition, I will choose the band. And that was allegedly the condition. Mateo, you can probably validate or more of that. There are two periods in Barcelona, and that's where I established a long relationship with Mateo. I'll let you, Mateo, talk about these things later because you have more insight on those things. But among the people in Barcelona, they claim, or they refer to him as the father of computer architecture and computer arithmetic in Spain. Some pictures about him and his family in the days in Barcelona with his wife and some of the researchers over there. At UCLA, a prolific generation of publications and books, established outstanding collaboration with the Professor Milos Ercegovac, who happens to be online. He has been listening to our presentation today, and we are going to hear from him in a few more minutes. He also has collaboration with multiple others, active engagement in conference program committee, in the computer arithmetic conference and what have you. And as you can see on that picture over there, this is us very happy and on the day of our graduation with PhD, after he had invested us with the traditional process of procedure which is done for the doctor degree over there. The other person over there, Miquel Huguet, he's in Barcelona. He couldn't come to join us today, but I'm sure he's probably on the line as well. I'm not quite sure. Here you see some young people, as you can see there. So there are a couple of other of the students under Tomas, Paul too on the right, and Yang Ali, a professor at the university in Korea, and Mikhail, who are also mentioned. Those guys are much looking then than what they are now, aren't they? Tell you what, Milos, are you on the line?
Hello, everybody. I'd like
Milos?
to share some thoughts about Tomas.
No, wait.
Yes, I am. I'm watching you. It's
Please, go ahead.
great so far. Terrific job. Okay, so what do I do? How do I bring my slides?
You can share
can
from there.
share.
You can share from there, yes?
Okay, I'll do that.
So Milos and Tomas were very, very close for many, many years. So all of us, we learned from both of them at the same time.
Is this working or not yet?
Not yet. We don't see the your charts.
Oh, this is
There
strange.
it goes. Okay. Yeah, now we see them.
Okay, I don't. You see them?
Yes.
I don't see the screen anymore. It's funny. What happened?
We are seeing
Okay.
them. Ah,
Well, it's interesting. What am I missing? I said share.
you should share like normal. You do.
Okay. Oh, it's moving. Oh, it's on the other screen. Okay. All right, so fine. I don't have to see the screen and I can talk. Okay. All right, very good. So, this is in memory of Tomás Lang, but I have a reflection. What is happening?
No, we see you perfectly. So go ahead. Don't worry. Everything is fine.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
All right. Then let's continue. So we all know Tomás, a most remarkable man, many talents, with great accomplishments, and a winning smile. We recognize this. He is no longer with us, leaving a big void among his colleagues, students, and family. He was a remarkable researcher with many significant contributions to our field, a great colleague and a mentor. Tomás joined UCLA CSD in 1974, and I came in 1975. His area was high-performance computing, and in particular, interconnection networks. Mine was arithmetic. He showed interest in arithmetic. I introduced him to the state-of-the-art research in the area since I came just from University of Illinois and Jim Robertson group. He would frequently joke when he started working, I have a great idea, but please don't tell me that Robertson and his students have already done it. Well, sometimes it happened. We worked together for over 20 productive years. In 1985, we published our first joint arithmetic paper on division. One day, I showed him the idea of on-the-fly conversion of redundant to conventional representation in radix 2. He liked it. He quickly generalized it to a general radix. A couple of days later, he woke me up at 2 a.m. Milos, I have an idea, and I cannot sleep. It was a good idea. 2 generations left to right of partial products and apply on-the-fly conversion as they are generated also left to right. This eliminates a need for final costly adder, typically taking 30% of the multiplier and extra time. This is typical how we worked and developed other ideas. Of course, he did not wake me after midnight frequently. It was a great pleasure to work with him, from brainstorming, looking at the ideas, to finding solutions which made a difference in the field. He had an egoless and modest personality. We never argued about anything. Tomás was always agreeable. His impeccable work, dedication, An open mind and care for others are rare. We taught several courses, including Introduction to Digital Systems, Computer Architecture and Organization, and Arithmetic Algorithms and Processors. We jointly developed lectures, and based on this work, we wrote 4 books. Just a small anecdote. When we started working, that was in 1975, 76, there was no Xerox. So we had to use old-fashioned Gestetner. If you know what that is, you have a stencil, and then you use some indigo ink to make copies. And at that time, Tomas would say, watch out, don't touch your face. You will look funny when you go to lecture. And I didn't. So the books are Digital Systems and Hardware Algorithms, Division and Square Root, 94, Introduction to Digital Systems. Jaime joined us as a co-author, 98. It was translated to Chinese and Portuguese translation. I don't want to claim, but maybe China progressed after they translated this book. We also wrote Digital Arithmetic in 2004. Okay, so here's how they look like. That's 1985 book, 850 pages. Then Square Root, 250 pages. People asked, puzzled, why do you need 250 pages to talk about division and square root? Well, they don't know the stuff, and we did know. Then we had digital systems, as I said, joined with Jaime. And then translations came, one to Portuguese and one to Chinese. Our final joint work was the Digital Arithmetic, published by Morgan and Kaufman. It was really a most comprehensive book on arithmetic, where we tried to cover all the details following our standard approach. First, high-level specification, understanding mathematics, and then talking about implementation. In his quiet ways, Tomas did show strong and tactful leadership. Among other things, years ago, he got me used to espresso. I even did not drink coffee. So every time I have it, I always think of Tomas and Kerkhoff Cafe at UCLA, where we would get our espressos in small, flimsy plastic cups. They would be crushed at the end, sit and drink under sycamore trees, trash the world leaders and their politics, and brainstorm about next ideas. Tomas knew well the literature, art, movies, photography, and music, so it was never boring being with him. Indeed, these were very good years, most memorable times. Tomas and I attended many a Silmar, ASAP, and SPI conference, sharing a room and taking long walks, sometimes productive, always interesting. This is a picture from Grenoble. Zoran, my wife, joined us a long time ago. A Silmar conference in Pacific Grove was our most loved destination. We often took a walk to Point Joe, never figuring it out if the point was named after St. Joe or if a Joe was named after Point Joe. Here is a picture, Tomas, Marc Tomas from France, Fami, who is now at the University of Cairo, was at Stanford, and myself. That's another picture. We took a drive and walks to the Big Sur, enjoying amazing nature. I have missed Tomas greatly, his company, conversations, his sharp-wit smile, and his exceptional mind. My fond memories of him will never fade. Just like the brilliant photos of irises he made for me will always bring his face and smile. You know, last period, unfortunately, when I got sick, I stopped going to Irvine. But prior to that, I would drive to Irvine once a week just to be with him. We talked. We kind of stopped working on arithmetic, but we had many other things to say. So these were also very good times. Well, I thank you all. I also wish to thank all his students and colleagues for making this tribute happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Milos. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So we go back to the presentation. Mateo, you want to make some words for yourself? There is another microphone coming.
Buenas tardes. I will give my speech in Spanish. Okay. Bueno, yo conocí a Tomás. Yo hice Teleco en Madrid, fui a Barcelona porque era la segunda escuela y estando allí abrieron las primeras facultades de informática en el año 77-78, ¿no? Entonces un día dijeron, hay un profesor en informática que igual lo contratan, que ha venido a dar una conferencia. Fui, lo conocí, pero no supe si lo iban a contratar o no, hasta que unos meses después dice, Tomás ha venido aquí a ser profesor de la Facultad de Informática. La Facultad de Informática había empezaron 3 en España, en San Sebastián, Madrid y Barcelona, y empezaron por estudiantes que ya tenían otra carrera. Entonces yo fui uno de ellos y tuve la suerte de que Tomás me diera un curso de arquitectura de computadores. I was a student of Tomás following a course on computer architecture, and it was very strong. Y entonces yo estaba haciendo mi tesis y dice, ¿por qué no te vienes y yo te miraré un poco la tesis? Porque estaba más solo que la UNA. Porque claro, no había profesores, era él el único profesor y tenía 3 que eran gente de empresa que venía a enseñar unas horas de IBM o de Honeywell Bull, tal, ¿no? Yo fui y puse una carilla y dije, bueno, no le gusta mucho mi tesis, pero bueno. Y me dice, oye, ¿por qué no haces un capítulo más de esto? Joder, digo, yo que la iba ya a escribir y leer. Entonces estuve un año más bajo su guía y leí la tesis doctoral. Él no fue mi director porque tenía otro, pero él estuvo en la tesis. Y luego era muy tímido y estaba solo y un día tomando uno de nuestros miles y miles de cafés que tomamos, me dice, Mateo, dice, ¿por qué no te vienes conmigo? Y me dice, porque mira, dice, yo he visto que lo que he dicho esta mañana, las manos no las usas muy bien haciendo circuitos, pero prueba a ver la cabeza que igual la usas peor, ¿no? Digo, bueno, digo, me fui con él y acerté. Encontré una persona, pues todo lo que se ha dicho aquí es poco. Yo con la palabra que me quedo es sonreír. Yo recuerdo tardes y casi noches enteras en que cuando pensábamos que habíamos sacado algo, decíamos, joder, vaya parida, no funciona. Entonces nos empezábamos a reír, tomábamos un café y nos íbamos a dormir y al otro día continuábamos, ¿no? Tomás cambió la Facultad de Informática porque nos enseñó, él siempre nos dijo, vosotros tenéis que intentar publicar en las mejores revistas y congresos, ¿de acuerdo? ¿Y qué pasó? Yo disfruté con él muchísimo, hicimos muchos viajes, ha sacado la foto de las bicicletas, le gustaba mucho la bicicleta, le encantaba hacer fotografías, Alan, tiene unas fotografías preciosas, la música, siempre ibas y tenía su música clásica ahí. Era un hombre pues muy diferente, yo no sé, era muy buena gente. Y disfruté mucho, pero claro, de repente me dice, Mateo, te tengo que dar una mala noticia. Y digo yo, ¿cuál? Dice que me vuelvo a Estados Unidos. Digo, no fastidies, Tomás, digo, no me tomarás el pelo, ¿no? Dice, no. Y me lo dijo llorando. Me dice, me voy, aunque yo vine para quedarme en Barcelona, ¿no? Y se fue y nos dejó solos. Bueno, me dejó a mí solo porque estábamos el lío. Y abrieron la facultad, el curso primero y segundo, y se inundó. Y digo, ¿qué hago yo? Digo, me voy. Digo, me voy porque... Bueno, entonces empecé a contratar gente y antes de irse me dio muchos consejos. Uno que me dio y que lo he seguido y lo he seguido toda mi vida es el siguiente, Mateo, tú ahora te quedas de jefe y de indio, porque no había nadie más. Dice, vas a tener que contratar a mucha gente y te pido que contrates a gente que creas que es mejor que tú. Y lo hice. Yo he contratado a mucha gente, profesores que les he llevado la tesis y tal, que son mucho mejores que yo, como Jesús Labarta, Llavería, toda esta gente. Y este fue el éxito de que el Departamento de Arquitectura de Computadores, gracias a Tomás, gracias a lo que nos enseñó en poco tiempo, hablaba con Alan, Estuvisteis poco tiempo al principio, luego intenté repescarlo. No sé si has visto ahí que había del 90 al 92. Intenté repescarlo, pero otra vez tuvo que volver a Estados Unidos. Y, joder, Tomás, a ver si a la tercera va la vencida, pero no hubo tercera. Era una persona que se hacía querer mucho. Todo el mundo lo quería muchísimo por la forma que era muy humilde. Era una persona pues muy humilde y siempre sonriendo. Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Pues que bueno, que hizo ese departamento, que gracias a él la arquitectura de computadores se difundió por España. Nadie daba cursos de arquitectura de computadores, de computadores paralelos. Creamos el primer centro de investigación, ayudamos a muchos grupos de Europa y creo que sin Tomás, no solamente en España, no existiría el BSC porque no existiría el Departamento de Arquitectura, sino que también en los proyectos, tuvimos varios proyectos con Europa y viajamos mucho. Enseñó a los europeos a hacer ciencia de calidad en el campo de arquitectura de computadores, donde era único, ¿no? Bueno, yo no sé qué... Podría estar mucho tiempo con anécdotas, pero Jaime me ha pispado, que dicen los catalanes. O sea, cuando hicimos el 25 aniversario, hicimos lo que se llama una AUCA, que es una serie de dibujos que pedimos a uno, y yo lo escribí alrededor de él en honor a Tomás. Entonces, escribí este pequeño libreto que no sé si tenéis por ahí. Sí, he traído unos cuantos para que se distribuyan a los que lleguen. I have an English version for you, and there is the slide you were commenting. He said, but, pero yo elijo la panda. Esa frase se la pongo yo en su boca, porque él era una persona muy estricta, tú lo conoces, ¿no? Y entonces vio que la gente que estaba en la Facultad de Informática eran muy políticos y no le gustó. Dice, sí, pero con la condición de que no me contratéis a los que queréis vosotros, que la banda la formo yo. Cariño, reconocimiento y gracias, Alan, por haber tenido un padre. Dile a Diana y a tu hermano, pues único, ¿eh? Muchas gracias y nada. Y diré una cosa. Era tan humilde, que no sé si coincidirás, que no le gustaría nada ver lo que estamos haciendo, por su humildad, pero creo que se lo merece.
Gracias, Mateo.
Who is the next? The next.
Bueno, ya hemos visto todo eso, ¿no? The legacy from Tomás is very well recognized. The books that he wrote, Milos and others, continue to influence newer generation of researchers, many collaborators, and his students, of which we are representatives, are really the ones that carry his legacy. So I want to give you a little of my own story with Tomás. So I heard about Tomás when I applied for my PhD. I received a letter from UCLA saying you have been accepted. And the letter, as shown over here, it says, your advisor will be Professor Lang. So you see that as well, that must be some American US professor, right? It was just Professor Lang. Until sometime closer to the time that I have to go to my PhD, I need to talk to my advisor. I give him a call, and then he tell me, oh, I am from Chile. So that was where I learned that he was really a graduated and a former professor here. I have to admit that Tomás gave me many opportunities while I was at UCLA. Among them in particular, he allowed me to be a teaching assistant the second quarter that I was there, which, by the way, when you go there, economically, it's very important to have some source of income. So the teaching assistant position was very important. Then he also nominated me or suggested my name so I could apply or participate in a summer internship at IBM. And later on, he nominated myself for an IBM fellowship, which I received. So those are opportunities that he led and allowed me to make my career. After the PhD degree, we published together a monograph as appeared here in 1992. But then jointly with Tomás, they invited me as a visiting lecturer during some summers here and winters over there. but mostly they invited me to publish the new version of their book. That was really a significant honor to be able to join them in the new version of the book that they had already published before. So we wrote this book, and Milos mentioned the translation to Portuguese and Chinese. There were also multiple versions of this book, but versions that were also published in India and some other places. So this book had a very wide distribution, and it makes me very happy. Now, the interesting thing is when this was published, I don't know if this expression is still being used over here, but Tomás says, ahora a forrarnos. I was typical of Tomás, right? Yeah. Well, we didn't, no nos forramos, eso ben hecho, yeah? But we had fun writing the book. He told me that it will take us maybe 2 years to write the book. It took us 4. We were all other jobs to do, of course, but still, this goes back to his rigor, to his demand for being very good, very accurate on what we're doing. So it took us a little while to write the book, but still it's being used nowadays. So many principles that I have learned from Tomás that have stayed with me: elegance, technique and elegance, quality, perfection, thoroughness, objectiveness, demanding, but also very fair, perseverance, calm. I never saw him upset, never, in spite of any challenge that we could have and so on. His opportunities that he enabled in me marked my professional career, teaching, writing, researching. So I owe a lot of my training, my experience to what I learned from him. So I'm very proud to call Tomás a professor, a mentor, a collaborator, and of course, a friend, because it was really all of those things to me in general. And here we are on our happy graduation date, joined also with his wife and Alan and his brother Robin in this happy moment in our life when we receive our PhD degrees. Mark?
Thank you. So, Tomás was my mentor as well, my advisor, and I have a few stories to share about him. First of all, it's very hard to retrieve information from this era, 1984, 87, and it's before, the World Wide Web, really. So this was my master thesis, implementation of a shift register file. And this is just a picture of the conclusion that we wrote together. But this is after many hours, because this is what it looked like when Tomás took a shot at it. And my colleagues can acknowledge this, we all did the same, and truly that's when I learned how to write logical English. It was Tomás. He was tough. I asked my wife to write all the red because I couldn't find the original, but literally this is how it looked like. So this idea, we've talked a lot about how good and all of the qualities that Tomás had. He also had some flaws. And one of his flaws was he was not a good salesperson. He hated marketing, and he never, marketed his work, and never didn't do a whole lot of patents, for example. And this paper that we wrote could easily have been patented. And fast forward now to 1995, and I joined Sun Microsystems in 1991, and my thesis was about shifting register windows. Mikhail Huguet had worked on that as well, and Tomás, and this came from Berkeley, the register windows to pass parameters in the original RISC processor from Berkeley. And Sun Microsystems adopted the SPARC, the RISC architecture, we called it SPARC, which had register windows. So here we go. I joined the company in 91, and we implement register windows in the SPARC microprocessor. So this was also SPARC 1, and in 1995, I introduced it in 1994, and then we published in 95. And one idea was to implement this 3D register file. And I'll tell you what the key idea was. But it was myself, Bill Joy, co-founder of Sun, who came from Berkeley, and some person that helped us with the implementation. And the key idea was, well, I guess it's more complicated than I thought, but that you could hide a lot of the transistors for the 8 different windows under these metal wires. I guess it doesn't matter too much. But this ended up being one of the key features of the microprocessor that was shipped, and then wrote another, multiple papers on this. But this is kind of to encourage students that are participants in this forum that this is work that originated really with Tomas, and then years later it was in a totally different situation, a commercial situation, and we implemented. This shipped in millions of microprocessors and tens of billions of dollars of systems, and we could have patented this. Tomas didn't care. It was pure intellectual work. Publishing was important, but he did it, he taught me, and it is just one of many, many examples where it turned out to be a commercial success. Ta-da! Leon.
So I have a few, I'm going to sit down, is that okay? A few personal stories to share. And I'm delighted to see and hear Milos Herzegovec, who was also, is still a very dear, dear friend. And I had 2 advisors, as you saw in some of the pictures, both Milos Herzegovec and Tomás Lang. And I have a few, I also have gone through the process that Mark mentioned of this redlining of the PhD write-up. And that would keep on going and going and going. And I want to share a very interesting tactic that Tomas, I don't know if he just used on me or on others, but at the point when there were no more red marks, I was like, okay, I'm done. And that's no more changes. And then Tomas basically met with me and said, I want you to come back with your own critique of your PhD thesis. And I just looked at him and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Something is wrong with that request. But I couldn't turn it down. And I said, you want me to critique my own PhD thesis? And he says, yes, you know the best. What's in there, what should be in there, what's not in there. Just go and give me the top 3 critiques of your own PhD. And I was, okay, I need to be honest. I went back and I wrote up like, well, I didn't do this, I could have done this. And then with a big smile, he turns it back to me and says, go and do it. So I learned my lesson there. And so even without the red marks, it was not over. He used my own understanding of what is and what isn't, what should be, what could be, and said, go ahead and do it and put it into your final thesis. The other nice story that I have to share, and this applies both to Milos and Tomas, and both Milos and Tomas were really, to me, like one. I met with them very often together, and then my situation was, I also, like Milos, I came from Belgrade, at the time Yugoslavia, and came to UCLA. And very quickly, I did well in some class at UCLA where I got invited to, by that professor, I got invited to work at the IBM Scientific Center that was at the time next to UCLA. It was very close. IBM at that time in the 80s had scientific centers next to universities, next to major universities, and it had one next to UCLA. And so I applied and I got a job at IBM. So I started in '83 and I got my master's degree in '86, which was really a year later than one would expect one to get a master's degree. And that's because I worked at IBM part-time, and the truth is I really enjoyed it. getting an additional salary, additional meaning I was also a teaching assistant for the same class, CS 51A or 151A, and then getting an additional salary from IBM. I had then met my girlfriend, who became my wife later on, and I was able to go out for dinners and treat her and court her and have a good life. And so it took an extra year, but I made a good part-time salary at IBM. And I was, you know, coming from Belgrade, I was in heaven. I was just thinking, this is the world made for me. Come to UCLA, get a job at IBM. Just as a little anecdote, again, coming from Belgrade and Yugoslavia at the time, I just remember at IBM Scientific Center, the storage room was an endless aisle that you can go and get notepads and pencils. It looked like I was in Wonderland, you know, that you can just go anything and nobody checks. Nobody looks to see what you got or anything. You can just get any supply into your office. I know it sounds ridiculous, but for me, coming from Yugoslavia, it seemed like a fantasy. But the point is, after about working at IBM for 2 years, I figured out maybe there's a way for me to do my PhD and stay at IBM. I'm making good money at IBM. I have a girlfriend I'm now living with and so on. So I thought maybe I can use this can continue. So I remember coming to Milos and Tomás Lang, and I say, I have a PhD thesis I want to do, and it's related to my work at IBM. IBM's going to pay for me, and I'm going to continue doing my PhD with you at UCLA. So I see Milos and Tomas kind of thinking it over, and then they basically agreed and said the following. Said, Leon, go back to IBM. If you want to stay with IBM, do your stuff, make money, good luck. If you want to do your PhD, you need to leave IBM and do your PhD. It's up to you. Don't rush. Come back and tell us which way you want to go. But there was no question, no doubt that I had to pick a path. And the path that I proposed in the middle was not an option. So I said, can I think about it? They said, absolutely. Think about it. Come back whenever you want to. So I went back home and consulted with my future wife and came back the next day to Milos and Tomas. And I said, I've made up my mind. I want to do my PhD. I'm going to quit IBM and stay here. And I cannot tell you how the smile on Tomas here was even bigger than on that picture. He was so happy. He said, good choice, good choice. You made the right choice. So to me, this is a lifelong lesson that they were together and Tomas was so principled. My notion, trying to optimize my work with my PhD, with my relationship, it was for both of them, for Tomas and Milos, it was make up your mind, make a choice and take it. And I did, and I finished my PhD, obviously, with Tomas and Milos. Never regretted. It was the right decision and the right mentorship. The other thing that I remember, especially with Tomas, when I was writing my PhD thesis, and my thesis was on functional architectural support for functional programming, and in particular at the time, logic programming, which was kind of foundation to AI at the time. And I remember putting a lot of work on all the research I did to come to the conclusion of how this thing should be implemented and so on. And I remember Tomas specifically saying it was like a huge chapter of all the options I tried. And basically Tomas said, throw that out. I don't care. Those are all options to get to where you had to get. And how you got there, nobody cares. So the whole chapter was just not even read. It was just thrown out as unnecessary. Just focus on the result and that was it. It certainly shortened my thesis, but it was painful getting rid of that chapter. So I'm here to honor his memory and the legacy that I carry in me from Tomás. It is the high degree of integrity that he always kind of inspired in all of us to be intellectually honest and rigorous. To me, that's who I remember Tomás to be. It didn't matter political correctness, it didn't matter who was from where, it didn't matter from what school, and so on. He was intellectually rigorous, and he demanded that from us as well. I also remember him with a big smile and a wonderful sense of humor. He was always joking. I never saw him upset. I will just add a little bit that he was also, I saw him not upset but angry a little bit when he saw work that he didn't think was really top-notch. So he would get kind of angry with papers that are published that are bullshit, or a conference presentation that was not really what he expected, and he would have it's not angry, it's more like sharp criticism where he did not see quality. So those are the things that I carry with me, and I'm deeply thankful for being his student. And I always need to say both Miloš and Tomás Lang, and so thank you for inviting me here, and it's great to share some of that experience.
Can I make a comment, Jaime? Just one more comment.
Go ahead, Miloš.
Talking how modest Tomás was, we were in Santiago de Compostela, a read conference, walking around, and Tomás said, "We're lucky, we work on terrific problems. Why do we need to put our names on it? Wouldn't it be nice if no paper had any authors, just the work done?" That was Tomás.
Interesting. Thank you for that comment, Miloš.
Of course, we didn't agree, he said.
Your academic career was on the line to have the name on the paper. Yeah. Thank you, Miloš.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So we have a number of people that when they learn about this event, they were eager to submit their own wishes and comments about Miloš, about Tomás, Miloš being one of them. So this again goes back to his PhD, this advisor, Professor Harold Stone, who is, interesting enough, is still with us as an emeritus from the university, but he wrote these nice lines. Tomás was an exceptional graduate student at Stanford, where he received his PhD under my supervision. His initial contributions in computer architecture were in regard to interconnection for parallel computers. Subsequently, he made numerous contributions to digital arithmetic. To carry his knowledge forward to the next generation, he co-authored widely used texts on digital systems. Tomás Lang's distinguished career is a role model for the future graduates from the University of Chile, which gave Tomás the educational foundation that launched that career. Again, his advisor at the PhD level. Is Voin on the line? No? No. Okay. So Voin is another person. Tomás was part of his thesis committee. At the time, he was a professor at Berkeley. Isaac Sherson on the line? Yes. Isaac, are you there? Isaac? 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 Let's keep going then. Scott? I said the timing is probably not the best timing for all these people, right? Scott is on the line? No? Yes?
Yes, I'm here.
Scott, please go ahead.
Okay, so these will be,
Hold on. Can I interject? It's Isaac. I was driving. As soon as I park, I'll let you know and I'll intervene.
yeah, Isaac, go.
Go ahead, Isaac.
No, let Scott go first. Hi, Scott.
Okay. Scott?
Sure. So I'm not a computer architecture person. These will be comments from having been in the same department and worked with them on a number of different areas. So on meeting Tomas. So we met in 1999 when I first moved to UCI. I was young, I was the ideological. I tried to lead the department in a set of brainstorming meetings about the challenges we were facing and how to make the department better. Tomas dove in with a ton of ideas. The effort was quickly shut down by the department chair, who saw it as a challenge to his authority. Tomas and I rebelled against this authoritarian reaction, saw each other as ideological mates, and became fast friends for the next couple of decades. On lunch. So we started having lunch together every day, sometimes with a lively group of other faculty, sometimes just the two of us. We talked about teaching, we talked about research, we talked about the department. I sought his advice nearly every day. We commiserated over the decline in learning standards and decline in teaching rigor, and he counseled me to hold the line and challenge the students. We commiserated over the decline in research standards and the increase in incremental publications, and Tomas again counseled me to hold the line and only publish quality work. But mostly we tried to figure out how to create a community of faculty. We failed again, we never stopped trying, but we kept up these lunches for 17 years. On teaching, Tomas was a demanding teacher. He believed it was his responsibility to teach core concepts. He also believed it was a student's responsibility to learn the core concepts. If the students didn't show on the final exam that they learned the core concepts, Tomas gave them a failing grade. And increasingly, he failed a lot of students. The university administration didn't like this. They tried to get Tomas to relax his standards. Tomas never relaxed his standards. On research, Tomas was an exacting, insightful, and dedicated scholar who, as everybody else has commented, trained his students to approach research in that same manner. He believed the purpose of university research is to contribute to the world's knowledge. He argued that researchers should be motivated by the creation of its knowledge, regardless of its use in industry. On democracy, Tomas was an ardent believer in democracy. He was born in Czechoslovakia in 1938 to a Jewish family. They fled in 1939 as the Nazis took over the country, moving to Chile and saving their lives. He left Chile after Pinochet took control, but he never gave up his Chilean citizenship. Within the university, Tomas took his role as a member of the faculty seriously. He was intensely interested in departmental and university matters. He encouraged his colleagues to think seriously about both faculty rights and faculty responsibilities. He often served as a voice of conscience. He believed the faculty should be in charge of the department and should elect its leaders, which isn't the way that it works here. But the faculty regularly gave up their voice and let the administration dictate affairs. Neither Tomas nor I never understood why faculty would voluntarily give up both their rights and responsibilities. And finally, on life after retirement, Tomas retired in 2010, but he still continued to come to the university campus every day. He walked an hour each way between his home and the university campus, really enjoying the time to think. When he couldn't manage the walk anymore due to his health, he got a scooter and he used the scooter to get to campus, navigating around cars, navigating around pedestrians. He would spend his mornings in the university library, reading newspapers and periodicals and books. He spent his afternoons touching up and printing the photos that other people have talked about. Some of them hang in the conference rooms here. Tomas and I continued to meet over lunch. I will miss him dearly. Isaac, your turn.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. Are you available, Isaac, now, or do we come back to you later?
I am.
Okay.
I am right here at your disposal.
Go ahead.
First of all, I haven't seen some of my colleagues. Hi, Scott. Milos, happy to hear you too. And homage to Tomas. What can I say? His brother-in-law and I met, became friends around 68. And I am from Chile also. I was in high school at the time and met Tomas. And the reason I met him is because his brother-in-law, Diana's brother, Jago, and I used to babysit for the kids, Alan and Robin. I understand that Alan is there. Hi, Alan. Is he there?
Yes, he's here. He's listening.
Good. Anyway, so I know him since that time. The big anecdote that I have to tell about him is that I did my entrance exam to the university, and I got a good score, so I had a choice of where to go for college, which school. And I was devoted to physics, particle physics. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And the day I was supposed to go and do my enrollment and choice, I was with Tomas in Pichidangi. We were vacationing by the sea. And he asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, particle physics. I said, are you nuts? You should go to engineering. You can always go from engineering to physical sciences, but never the other way around. So take advantage of your score. You got a good score, go to engineering and then decide. And that changed my life because I stayed in engineering forever. That's one anecdote. The other anecdote that I need to share with you is that he did work on the perfect shuffle with Harold Stone. And my office mate in graduate school, he did some very seminal work and very interesting work on the perfect shuffle. And I got a kick out of that and started looking at the networks. And that led even to an IEEE-sponsored compilation of papers that we did that was published in 94, I believe. I forget already. But anyway, I wrote a paper and I ran it by Tomas when Tomas was already at UCLA. And there was a theorem that he rebaptized. He said, this is not a theorem, this is a theorem. And so he didn't understand it too much. And I think that that's why he called it a theorem. But the revenge on my side was that I tried to use their book, Milos and Tomas's. And I admit that I never used it. I'm sorry I didn't contribute to your income, Milos. But I had to understand it first. Until this very day, even retired and having the time to read through it and try to understand, I can't. I don't know how you guys would teach out of that and how the students would understand it. And to continue the anecdote from Scott about him, Tomas, being too tough with the students, I was chair of the Privilege and Tenure Committee at UCI when this incident grew up and it came to my desk. So it was settled, very peacefully without any consequence. But it just was another proof of Tomas's high standards and standards he could not compromise, no matter how hard we would ask him to lower a little bit his standards so that people could get the credits for the class and so on and continue their course of study. He could not, it was stronger than himself. Anyway, we were good friends. I was really, really sorry that he passed and about his illness and everything. Was lucky enough that when he passed, I went with Diana to his office. We kept a few mementos from him, and I still have my bookcases filled with his books. I cannot get rid of them either. So anyway, Tomas will live forever, actually, in the memory of many, many of us, and in the papers that he wrote. And by the way, I pride myself of having a paper also with him. We wrote a paper in Infocom in the 90s. I don't remember the exact one. It was published in the proceeding of Infocom, and it is on a theoretical analytical characterization of a generalization of the perfect shuffle interconnection network. So anyway, there you go. Long live his memory, and that is my contribution, my little contribution, my grain of salt to this homage. Thanks to the organizers of this.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you very much. Michel Uguet is another of the students in the group that we graduated together. Here is his picture, and he sent us this long note. When I finished my undergraduate studies in 1979 at Catalonia, Tomas has just joined the computer architecture department. At that time, we were the only two full-time staff members, so we spent a lot of time together. When he moved to UCLA, he encouraged me to apply for a scholarship to continue my studies there, which I did, and he became my advisor. Finished my master's thesis. I was planning to return to Barcelona, but he encouraged me to remain at UCLA to do my PhD. I remember I told him I would like to do it in two phases as he had done. But he said, if you go back, you will never return for your PhD. Great advice. Probably he was absolutely right. He was an excellent and rigorous professor, always compelling us to get our highest potential and to stimulate us to find the solution by ourselves. When we thought that he had finished our research, he always found one additional path to look at. In addition, we had to write and rewrite our articles to make it easy and understandable for the readers. That is, to him, as our first devoted reader. He was not only an excellent mentor, but a fatherly figure to me, counseling me beyond computer science. I recall with fondness our affinities and hobbies like photography and traveling, passion for cinema, music, and food, which we shared with his wife Diana, as a strong, intelligent woman with a great sense of humor, who always was his best support, our discussion on ethics and politics. Thank you, Tomas, for everything. Oh, you were on the line. I didn't know that. Can you just hold
it was very good. Thank you, Jaime.
Okay, you should have read those words yourself, but glad to see your face over here.
Your English is better than mine. Mine is already rotten.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good to see you.
No, thank you for organizing this to the University of Chile and everybody else. Tomas really deserved it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. We should have been here in person, though. We are not happy for that. Everybody here of the group says, and this is going to cost you a lot because you were not here today, right? Okay, let's go back. Here is a nice picture of Miquel and Tomas and his wife, Diana, from not too long ago. Young Ali was another of the PhD students in the group at that time. She's a professor at Chosun University in South Korea. She was looking to come, but unfortunately, situations did not allow her to do so. But she also sent us his letter. I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity to share my thoughts on Professor Lang. It's truly a privilege to join you in spirit as we remember and celebrate his remarkable life, his achievement, and his lasting influence in so many of us. Professor Lang was my PhD advisor from 86 to 90, years that profoundly shaped my life as a researcher. His guidance, his intellectual depth, and his constant encouragement taught me to approach research with both rigor and curiosity. I owe much of my professional and personal growth to his mentorship. After moving from the University of Houston to Chosun University in Korea, I was not able to visit him in the US as often as I wished. something that I have long regretted. I am also truly sorry that I was unaware of his illness and could not express my gratitude or support during those difficult times. When I visited his office at Irvine in 2006, I was deeply moved to see the beautiful paintings on the walls, all created by him. They reveal his artistic sensitivity and warmth, qualities that so naturally complemented his brilliance as a scholar. Professor Lang was not only an exceptional scientist, but also an inspiring mentor, whose wisdom, integrity, and kindness left a deep impression on everyone who had the privilege to know him. His influence continues to guide my thoughts and my work, and his memory remains a constant source of inspiration, with heartfelt respect and remembrance. Professor Elizardo Antel of the University of Santiago de Compostela. So this is in Spanish, so you can see it directly over there. But he said that they collaborate in arithmetic for over 10 years. They had several exchanges between the universities, which allow a more direct relationship, both professional and personal. Their collaboration was based on the search for investigation of quality to be able to present it in publications of high international level. That was Tomas' philosophy, as we have already heard from others. We had a very personal relationship, very good, with conversation during our free time over different topics that did not have anything to do with research. Photography was one of his fun activities, and I want to reflect that on this picture of the Catedral de Santiago de Compostela, which was taken by Tomás. Finally, I want to say that he was an excellent researcher who always searched for quality, and overall, he was a very good friend. Arnaud Tisserand from France, here is his letter. I was very fortunate to meet Tomás when I was a young PhD student. After I visited him several times in Irvine and even spent a month learning many nice things in computer arithmetic and computer architecture from him. It was a great privilege to have such a mentor. Working with Tomás remains a very nice memory in my career. Tomás' scientific legacy is unquestionable and inspiring. His work showed the deep links between representations of numbers, algorithms, and efficient implementations. Today, I don't think there is a better way to learn fundamentals in computer arithmetic, and especially for division and square root, than reading the books from Tomás and his co-authors. Beyond our technical discussions, I will always remember his smile, full of kindness, and his humor. Every time I hear people talk about Tomás, it always was with a strong scientific admiration. Spending time with Tomás made people happy professionally and personally. Tomás will remain a model for me. Professor Antonio González from the University of Catalonia. I would like to take a moment to honor the memory of true pioneer in our field and a personal inspiration to many of us, Professor Tomás Lang. Like many students at UPC, had the distinct privilege of knowing Professor Lang first as a teacher during my undergraduate studies in 1981. He was my first professor on computer architecture, and he had a remarkable gift. He could take the most intricate concepts and present them with a clarity and passion that was infectious. For me, and for so many others, he did not just teach the subject. He ignited the spark that would shape our careers. His vision went beyond the classroom. Tomás was the founder of Computer Architecture Department at UPC, the very department that I have the daily honor of working in today. He literally built the house that so many of us now call our professional home. Even after he formally left my university and moved back to the US, his mentorship never truly ended. I remember him during his visit after my undergraduate days. Though he was no longer my professor, he was always generous with his time and wisdom, offering invaluable advice that helped me guide me as I began my own research journey. He was a brilliant researcher, but he was also an exceptional teacher and a guiding hand for the next generation. His legacy is not just in his technical contribution, also in the community that he built and the countless minds that he shaped. He will always be remembered. Oh, Jordi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I was going to read what you sent, but if you want to do something directly, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah, well, I will be very brief, but thanks for the organizer of this recognition event, well-deserved. And I'm also happy to see some faces that I haven't seen for many years, including Jaime and Marisa and Milos, of course. That was the old times in UCLA, I remember 1988, I think, long ago. But yeah, well, what I would like to say about Tomas is I met him when I was 18 years old. I was a student at the computer science school in Barcelona. And at that time, I wasn't even sure that I chose the right discipline for my career, because I thought that this computer science, a lot of hand waving, and probably this is not a very serious discipline. But there were a few professors there that changed my mind. And probably Tomas was one of the most influential in the way I did research during my career. So I was very fortunate to meet him at that time. And he showed me that something as simple as an addition was could open the door to a landscape of discoveries. There were so many ways of adding two numbers. And of course, when you were moving to division and square root, that was his favorite topic. That was like an orgy of ideas. And I had the opportunity to just write some papers with him on, of course, division, exotic techniques for division, square root, and also transmitting data through buses with low energy. And I remember what I learned from him is the rigor, the formalization, and he was very perseverant in doing research. I remember just showing him some ideas on saying, okay, I have this idea on how to do division, and I simulate it, and it seems it works. And he said, no. Simulation is not enough. You just have to prove that it's correct. Okay, so he was very tough on that, and I think we all agree on that. So I was very fortunate that at that time I met him and gave me the right guidance for research in my life. And apart from that, great person, I will always remember the long walks we had together, sometimes with discussing technical ideas, and of course, always with this warmth smile in his face. So I just would like to say that thank you, Tomas, for the guidance at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Enric Mujoll. I met Tomas as part of my PhD advisory under Jordi Cortadella, who at the time, around 1994, was collaborating with Tomas on how to enhance division through speculation. I did my PhD in actually low power consumption, low power design at the UPC, Polytechnic University of Catalonia, and I read my thesis in 1996. One area of research was how to reduce power in arithmetic cells, and I was at the time focusing on others and multipliers. So as part of my PhD, I did a short stay at UCLA in 1995, if I remember correctly, or 94 could be, where I bounced some ideas with Tomas. And along with Jordi, we were able to publish 4 papers, basically in 2 different areas. One was a design of a flop that was low power flop, trying to reduce the activity, and also how we could use that flop in designing others and multipliers. And then the other area was how to reduce the power consumption on a CPU and on a processor, and in particular on the address bus of that processor, by taking advantage of the locality of the memory references. So one thing that I did learn from Tomas is that work is not done until clearly described in the paper, right? No matter how much time, no matter how many revisions you have to do on that paper, okay? And that has helped me a lot in my career after that, as actually a designer, right? As a design engineer in different companies in California, Silicon Valley. So thanks again, Tomas, for your guidance. Your contributions to academia and research have been outstanding, and we are still missing you. Gracias y hasta siempre.
Another person from Barcelona, Eduardo Aguare, he's on this letter. Tomás, an honor for me to be part of research group during the early days. Learning to enjoy, I'm going to be a little bit running out of time, I think so. Learning to enjoy a number of the research, sharing ideas. And please go ahead and read it. I don't want to spend a lot of time because we're running out of time. But anyway, so another person that was very fond of Tomás, I always remember the sweater that you forgot one day in Mateo's office at UPC, and that was hanging there for so many years, giving the hope that one day you will return. That never happened, but the spirit and inspiration to continue was always there. Another Spanish professor, Javier Diaz from the University of Santiago de Compostela, who was also incredibly fortunate to have worked with Tomás for so many years. The 15 years where they shared so much time together, visiting the university and in Santiago as well as in Irvine. I spent countless hours talking about all sorts of things. From Tomás, I didn't just learn much of what I know about computer arithmetic, but also shaped the way I think about work and life, pursuit of excellence, innovation, and so on. Hard to put into words what it meant to know him, proud and deeply grateful to have shared time with Tomás. Jesús Labarta.
Hola, soy Jesús Labarta y conocí a Tomás Lang al principio del Departamento de Arquitectura de Computadores, cuando yo era solo un niño, y ahora me dijeron hace poco que sí era el profesor más antiguo en activo del departamento. Pasado un tiempo, pero recuerdo a Tomás como una persona agradable, de buen humor, preocupado y motivado por entender y por saber, más que por aparentar. Y yo me gustaría recalcar una percepción sobre la importancia del hacer, ¿no? Que a nivel de artículos, por ejemplo, les decía, hay que escribir con lo que has aprendido, con lo que sabes, ya te dirán si te has dejado algo, si tienes que modificar, y siempre se puede ir avanzando y corrigiendo. Y la otra cosa, otro caso concreto de hacer es, bueno, cuando nos dejó meterle cúter y soldador al PDP-11 de la facultad, que hoy día parece una locura, pero sí que queda ese pozo, esa percepción de que hay que probar, hay que hacer cosas. Si salen, salen y has enseñado y has marcado un camino. Si no salen, tienes material para aprender. Un recuerdo.
Hello, my name is Julio Villalba. I am professor at the University of Mali. It's a great honor for me to join this tribute to Professor Tomás Lang. He was truly the father of computer arithmetic in Spain, and it has been a privilege for me to work with him for more than 10 years. What I always remember is not only his brilliant mind, but also his wonderful sense of humor. I recall with great joy our technical discussion in the engineering tower in the University of Irvine. Those were moments of deep learning and also friendship. Of course, after 2 hours of intense work, just before going for a coffee break, he always smiled and said, "I've earned it, I've earned it." That simple phrase captured his spirit, rigorous in his work, but always with warmth and humanity. He also left a work of great value, written together with his friend Milos Rezagova, the book Digital Arithmetic. I make intensive use of it with my graduate students at my university, and it continues to inspire new generations. Tomás left an indelible mark on our field and on all of us who had the privilege of working with him. I always remember him with admiration and affection. Thank you very much.
So, as you can hear from the various people, we all share very similar memories and remembrances of Tomás on the role that he made in our own careers. And as mentioned earlier, these are the words by which we remember him, that we know him, and we think of him as time goes by. So thank you for joining us in having this memory of Tomás and his legacy throughout the years. Mateo, do you guys want to say anything else? Would you want to say anything else? No?
Thank you for presentation. To close today's ceremony, we invite Dr. Lang's son, Alan Lang, to come to the stage to receive a special recognition on behalf of the family. This moment symbolizes the profound personal and professional impact that Dr. Lang. Please, Dr. Jaime Moreno. Yes, helps to deliver this recognition.
Wow. Wow. This. Lo voy a leer. In remembrance of Tomás Lang, y pone las fechas, honoring the legacy of his outstanding career, the development of global computing. Wow. Okay. Ya. Okay. Yo voy a decir algunas palabras también. Tenía algo preparado. Pero creo que lo voy a hacer más breve. Lo que me chocó más que nada, bueno, primero perdón el español, que está un poco malo, pero lo que me chocó y lo que yo había escrito, que creo que es lo más importante de decir hoy, es que ustedes conocían a mi papá en su ambiente natural. En el ambiente, por ejemplo, todos decían que su sonrisa, que se acuerdan de su sonrisa. Se acuerdan de su sonrisa porque él sonreía cuando estaba ahí, pero cuando no estaba en ese ambiente era otra persona completamente diferente, ¿me entiendes? Y yo no había visto eso nunca. Yo tenía un retrato y eso voy a hablar de dos cosas. Uno que, bueno, primero los quiero agradecer a todos. Eso es los que lo organizaron, los que están aquí. Yo estoy muy por toda la gente que habló. Me puse a llorar un par de veces, era algo... Porque como han dicho mucha gente, él en la vida no hubiese estado contento con esto. Era un hombre muy humilde que nunca quería que la gente lo mire a él, digamos. Pero lo que hacía era su pasión. Y como les dije, solo estaba confortable en ese ambiente, en el mundo, y por eso yo creo que él vivía en ese ambiente con tanta rigor y por eso que sonreía, porque ahí estaba contento, él podría haber hecho eso toda su vida, ¿me entiendes? Y lo hizo. Hablábamos con algunos de sus estudiantes que le decían como decían, que nunca estaba listo el trabajo, que había que arreglarlo más, una vez más, otra revisión. Es que él no, si fuera por él habría estado con eso por toda la vida. No había dejado que los alumnos se vayan nunca, porque eso era lo que a él le gustaba. Yo cuando estaba en UCLA, porque yo atendí UCLA cuando él era profesor ahí, y él y Miloš habían escrito el libro de ese curso, de CS 151, creo que se llamaba. Y bueno, yo no lo podía tomar con mi papá porque eso sería ridículo, entonces ellos se turnaban a hacer el curso y yo tomé el curso con Miloš. Y todo bien, y llego un día a la clase y está mi papá ahí de profesor.
y explica que Miloš no podía estar, entonces él estaba ese día. Y yo, con horror, imagínense, yo estaba ahí y más que nada no quería que nadie sepa que yo era el hijo, pero ahí lo vi por la primera vez en su ambiente, como, digamos, yo lo conocía como papá. Y como papá era otra persona completamente. Pero ahí él manejaba, él estaba como que, él era el rey, era como Elvis Presley en su, ¿me entiendes? Él estaba completa, y ahora lo entiendo, porque todos ustedes han hablado de eso mismo, de que ahí, de cómo era, de cuán feliz y cuán interés él tenía, era su vida, esto era su vida. Voy a terminar con esto. Hay un relato, hay una película de Disney que se llama Coco, donde hablan de los días de los muertos. La tradición es de que uno recuerda a los muertos y mientras están en nuestros recuerdos, siguen de vivir, porque siguen de vivir en nuestras memorias. Cada día de los muertos se pone una ofrenda con fotos de los queridos para recordarlos y mantenerlos vivos. Yo encuentro que esto es como la ofrenda para él. Ahora, él obviamente está en la memoria de todos ustedes y la gente que habló y mucha más gente, y eso lo mantiene vivo y eso me da mucha gratitud a mí. Gracias.
No te vayas, te queremos pedir una foto con todos los asistentes de la primera fila. Adelante, por favor, para que se puedan tomar una fotografía.
¿Podemos ir parado? Sí, parado. Como mi papá, ya, no más. Gracias a todos.
Un último regalo. Cuando Mateo nos habló, he talked about Tomás like two or 3 years ago. We should do something for him. Deberíamos hacer algo por él. I didn't know at all Tomás. He was already gone from the university when I entered. So we thought to look at what we have in our library from Tomás, and we found his thesis for engineering. So there are 2 copies of them in the -3 or -4 in the old building just across of the street. And so I asked my son, who's an artist, if we can copy that and make it look like the original was in leather and beautiful one. This is a thesis on memory, computer memory, so 64. I think it's very advanced. And at the end, you will find some drawings of actual pieces of the memory. So I have a few copies that we did. And Ginés. So thanks to Ginés, we have this meeting. He has worked many hours, and of course, Jaime and you come from long distance. So we have one for each one of the students. I hope you
enjoy it. And we're going to give you two, because they are very... No, uno es para el departamento de arquitectura, que lo guarden como quieran, y la otra es para aquí. Qué bonito detalle. Sí, y vamos a guardar un par de copias en la biblioteca. And at the end, you have the drawings. So I think it's very advanced for the time. Yeah. It's quite interesting. So, that's the finish. No, gracias a ti. Gracias por habernos hecho encontrar un gran personaje.
So, on behalf of the faculty, the organizers on the entire workshop, we extended our deepest gratitude to the family, colleagues, friends, and participants who have joined us today to honor Dr. Tomás Lang. We also thank our partner institution, the Barcelona Supercomputing, Universidad Politécnica de Catalunya, Universidad of the Chile, Center for the Mathematical Modeling, and National Laboratory for High Performance Computing for making this event possible. Thank you all for joining us and celebrating the extraordinary contribution of Dr. Tomás Lang to science, education, and the global high-performance computing community. Thank you.